Thank you, and welcome to all of our honored guests. Tonight, we salute each and every one of you. It is terrific that we can honor you in the presence of your family, your friends, and so many of your co-workers who are gathered here tonight. Please welcome Councilman Michael Nowakowski for me.
You know, last night when I was thinking about what to say, and I was writing the speech about 10:30 at night, me and my wife were sitting up, and then we heard a helicopter. And we live out there in the Levine area, so we were wondering if it was a sheriff's helicopter or if it was a Phoenix PD helicopter. So we went into our son's room, and we were looking out the window. And my 4-year-old son, Raymond, turned around and said, "Dad, that's a Phoenix police officer protecting us. Don't worry. Everything's going to be all right." And I turned, I looked at my son. He fell back to sleep. But I was just wondering, wow, the impression that you all have had on my 4-year-old son, that he knows that that sound of the helicopter are police officers protecting our neighborhoods. This morning at 7:30 in the morning, I woke up to a breakfast of individuals, 150 individuals that are willing to volunteer their time, to be just like you all, to be proud to wear that uniform. The impact that you had on these lawyers, doctors, engineers, construction workers, the impact that you all had, they are willing to put their lives on the line to protect and to serve our community, says a lot about what you all stand for. Congratulations to all those individuals being honored today. You are examples of that inspiration to all of us. Thank you once again for protecting and serving our community, the Phoenix community. God bless you all. Thank you.
Daniel V. Garcia spent 34 years with the Dallas Police Department before being hired as the City of Phoenix Chief of Police on May 14th of this year. Chief Garcia was born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, and comes from a family of law enforcement officers. In fact, he currently has 3 brothers in law enforcement. He is married to Irma, and they are the proud parents of 2 children, Danny Jr. and Rachel. Chief Garcia earned his degree in criminal justice from Sam Houston State University. He is a graduate of the FBI National Academy and the Police Executive Research Forum. Please give a warm welcome to Chief Daniel Garcia.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to be here with you tonight. To the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department, I'm so proud of you. I wrote some comments down last night, but I have to tell you that after coming out through the atrium into the theater itself, I was completely taken back in relation to what I saw. The pride, the honor of the Phoenix Police Department is outstanding. I was so taken back by the motorcycles, our officers lined up at attention, on our honor guard bringing us in, the bagpipes and drums leading us in. Ladies and gentlemen, men and women of the Phoenix Police Department, that is who we are as an organization, the Phoenix Police Department, the Phoenix Police Force. I'm so proud tonight, and on May 14th, when I was named Chief of Police of the Phoenix Police Department. A lifelong dream for me to be Chief of Police of a major city. Little did I know that that Chief of Police job would be in Phoenix, Arizona, the 5th largest city in the United States. A police department that understands policing with a purpose, ensuring democracy, justice, a spirit of service, fundamental fairness, and protecting people from harm. A police department that clearly understands the nobility of policing and practices it every day. I'm so honored to be your police chief. And tonight, as part of the Phoenix Police family, we're here tonight to honor the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department who have set themselves apart by their actions and deeds, in their policing efforts. The Medal of Valor, the Medal of Merit, the Police Chief's Units Award, all these awards, the Life-Saving Awards, all these awards clearly speak of the men and women and the actions they take every single day for the citizens of Phoenix. Proverb 28:1, the wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Those are the people that we were going to recognize tonight. The men and women of the Phoenix Police Department that walk into chaos, that walk into the fray, save lives, bring peace to families and communities. When we take the policing commitment in policing, our police officers make a lifetime commitment willingly. It is a commitment that most men dare not make. A sacrifice few are willing to shoulder, and a challenge that only the best are capable of honoring. So tonight we're honoring the best. But before we do that, I just want to thank all the family members of the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department. Your support, supporting your loved one in the job they do, day in, day out, speaks volumes not only of the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department, but the commitment of family members to the law enforcement profession in behalf of their loved ones. I thank each and every one of you for taking time to be with us today. And people have come from far away. The Helms family from New York City. Various officers that I met tonight, families coming from far, far away to recognize and support their loved ones. Folks, this is who we are. This is who we are as an organization. Take pride in who we are. This is what this is all about. I'm so proud of you. So without any further ado, let's recognize the best of the Phoenix Police Department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. It's time to present our first award. Please welcome to the stage Sergeant Chris Eric. Phoenix Police Sergeant Chris Eric has demonstrated countless examples of his excellence during his police career. His leadership, administrative skills, crime scene management, investigative abilities, dedication to training, and his efforts to lead crime suppression and his community interactions have all been outstanding. Sergeant Eric is an exceptional supervisor who understands how good examples of leadership can positively affect the officers who are assigned to him. We are very proud to honor him tonight and present him with the 2011 Supervisor of the Year Award. Congratulations.
It is without exaggeration fair to say that our officers put their lives on the line every single day. And when they pull over that car that's speeding, they don't know who's inside that car. You know, we sleep well at night knowing that these officers are on the street doing what they do. So, tonight's just a night to celebrate with the officers, their families. There's so many cute kids running around here, the children of our great police officers. So tonight's just a night to say thank you and to celebrate excellence.
I'm proud of my dad. He got the Life-Saving Award. Not too many people get that.
For him to stand down and not pull his gun and watch and really be aware of what's going on, that's a plus.
I'm just so proud of her and her hard work and effort and going out to be selfless and wanting to save lives and dedicating her life to serving the community, serving and protecting. That's what she lives for.
The next award is presented to a group chosen for their successful completion of a predetermined police-related on-duty act or a continuing effort who are all working for a common objective. Please welcome to the stage this year's honorees who are receiving the Police Chief's Unit of the Year Award. Lieutenant Sean Connolly, Sergeant Jesse Abernathy, Sergeant Jeff Rice, Officer Eric Amato, Officer David Arredondo, Officer James Art, Officer Michael Ballantyne, Officer Christopher Burtz, Officer Joshua Kaye, Officer Zabatica Colbert, Officer Jed Fisher, Officer Mercedes Fortune, Officers Michael Fortune, Officer Stefan Genowick, Officer Chris Granado, Officer Blake Hammond, Officer Richard Lamberto, Officer Eric Munzinger, Officer Michael Penn, Officer Anthony Chivetto, Officer Jason Smith, Officer Dave Swick, Officer Tyler Tatke, and Officer Steve Wong. Beginning in August 2009 and culminating in 2011, these officers from the 43 X-Ray Neighborhood Enforcement Team noticed an increase in their beats, narcotics complaints, and in violent crimes. As they investigated, they discovered a disturbing trend in the gang world. Many of the rival gangs were doing business outside of their traditional gang boundaries, while at the same time developing working partnerships with other gang members. As a result of this team of officers' outstanding efforts, a significant narcotics and marijuana distribution organization was dismantled. Dubbed Operation OG Style, this investigation resulted in 20 high-risk drug-related search warrants being served, along with 71 indictments. Upwards of 90 vehicles being seized, 41 arrests were made, several pounds of cocaine and marijuana, in addition to 14 firearms were impounded. 30 bank accounts were also frozen, and an excess of $556,000 in cash was seized. Operation OG Style is an example of unyielding service and commitment on behalf of these officers who were assigned to the South Mountain Precinct. We are very proud to present them with this award. Please honor them tonight with a round of applause.
They get a lot of crime, so I hate to say it, but it's hard for us to realize what they're doing at night when we're sleeping. But since they do have, work in a dangerous area, I was thinking that he might get some type of award someday for something, because he does work hard out there.
Our son has done a valiant job. It's not something we ever expected, that he would, after 4 years of college at Notre Dame, and we didn't expect this, but yet he felt the passion to serve, and so we're grateful. And I used to look at the police force, and I would go ahead and look at the speedometer, and now I go ahead and I bless every time I see a police officer.
I'm very proud of him. He was off duty at home in a different city other than Phoenix, and his neighbor needed help, and he happened to overhear what was going on in his neighborhood and went to help and actually saved the neighbor's life.
The Medal of Merit is presented to an employee for an act of courage and dedication to duty during the actual performance of a police service that involves significant risk or danger of one's personal safety. Please welcome Officers Andrew Barces and Officer James Sink. On January 26, 2010, Officer Barces and Officer Sink responded to a call regarding a woman who had been kidnapped in Oklahoma and now had escaped her assailant. The officers drove to a motel near Bell Road and 23rd Avenue, where they spotted a suspicious-looking subject. Officer Barces approached and asked the man for an ID, still sensing that something was not right. Instantly, the man pulled a weapon from behind his back and fired in Barces' direction. Officer Barces returned fire and struck the suspect. Officer Sink also returned fire. The two officers were able to get the suspect's weapon. The suspect did not survive his wounds. Additional responding officers found the kidnapped victim nearby. She was shaken, but in good condition. The actions of Officer Barces and Officer Sink reflect the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department. We are pleased to present them with the Medal of Merit. Congratulations. Please welcome to the stage Officers Rick Hardy, Tim Loers, and Mike Pacheco. On January 24, 2011, Officers Hardy, Loers, and Pacheco responded to a call of an attempted suicide. The caller stated a man had a loaded gun to his head and the man's daughter was fighting him for the gun. When they arrived at the residence, the officers saw the scene unfolding and chose to enter the house. Officers Pacheco and Loers tried to control the man, while Officer Hardy physically restrained the man's daughter. The incident concluded safely with no injuries to the distraught man or his daughter, and none to the responding officers. The actions of these officers are in keeping with the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department. Therefore, we are proud to present each of them with the Medal of Merit Award. Congratulations, gentlemen. Please welcome the next Medal of Merit recipient, Detective Michael Hubbs. On October 10th, 2011, Detective Michael Hubbs was at home and off duty when he was alerted that an elderly female neighbor was being attacked by 2 dogs. Hubbs armed himself, and as he approached the residence, noticed that both dogs were attacking another neighbor. Detective Hubbs yelled at the dogs in an attempt to avert their attention towards him and away from the neighbors. One of the dogs immediately turned and charged him. Hubbs fired 1 shot and stopped the charging dog. The second dog then charged Hubbs, and he was forced to again fire a shot, stopping the attack. His actions to save the lives of his neighbors are commendable and reflect the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department. Therefore, we are proud to present Detective Michael Hubbs with the Medal of Merit Award. Congratulations. A home invasion crew set the stage for what became a violent incident in March of last year. The following officers responded for the call. Officers Dustin Dion, Mike Fernandez, John Maxwell, Christopher Olson, Tyken Soli, Brian Walsh, and Dustin Watts. On March 2nd, 2011, officers Fernandez, Olson, and Soli responded to a call for service at a residence in the area of 88th Avenue and Monte Rosa. The female caller indicated someone was trying to break into the house. As the officers approached, they could hear yelling coming from inside and saw that a door to the residence had been forcibly opened. As they took cover, they were confronted by 6 masked and armed gunmen. One suspect pointed a semi-automatic rifle at them. A second suspect fired his handgun at the officers. 2 suspects ran outside, but the other 4 ran back inside and bunkered up in the house. During several more violent exchanges where the lives of officers were threatened, 2 suspects outside the residence were shot and fell to the ground in the front yard within easy reach and access to the guns next to them. A perimeter was established around the house and the neighborhood to contain and capture the other 4 suspects. Now at the scene, officers Walsh and Dion provided cover, as did officers Maxwell and Watts. At one point, one of the suspects who was lying on the ground reached for his handgun. He ignored officers' commands to put it down and instead turned the weapon towards them, forcing the officers to shoot. The officers continued to focus their attention on the other suspect who had access to his weapon. They eventually removed him from the scene and he was transported for medical treatment. A man, woman, and child inside the residence were all escorted to safety. The man had been stabbed and hit in the head by the suspects. The surrounding neighborhood was searched, and the other 4 suspects were apprehended and taken into custody. A further investigation determined that all 6 suspects were part of a home invasion crew known for frequent and violent robberies. The actions of these officers are keeping with the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department. We are proud to present each of them with the Medal of Merit Award. Congratulations.
This means a lot to us. We're very proud of all 3 of our sons. We have 3 who are police officers, 2 in Milwaukee. And Douglas went on his own and went out to Phoenix, and we're just so proud of him.
I'm very proud of him. He again was off duty and, helped the lady out. So good for him.
Well, he's here today to even get the award. That's important considering he was shot in the head. So it's a big day for our family and for him.
Officer Donald Garcia, please join us on stage. On November 18th, 2011, a student on a school bus was threatening the bus driver and another student with a knife. The 13-year-old was upset about a previous incident on the bus and threatened to kill the female bus driver who, during the exchange, pulled over to the side of the road and told the teen to put the knife down. Instead, the boy advanced on the driver, who radioed for police to respond. The teen told the bus driver to get off the radio, and when she wouldn't do that, he grabbed a 10-year-old student and held the knife to the student's throat, pulling him to the back of the bus and threatening to kill him. Responding officer Donald Garcia got on the bus and recognized the teen with the knife and knew that he was a teen with a learning disability. Garcia established a conversation with the teen and noticed that the boy's hand was already bleeding. As Garcia reached out to check the wound, the teen switched the knife to his other hand and again placed it to the throat of the 10-year-old bus rider. Officer James Sink entered the bus, and fearing that Garcia might be stabbed, he drew his weapon. Garcia and the suspect struggled, and together, Garcia and Sink were able to take the teen into custody. For his actions that reflect the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department, we are proud to present Officer Donald Garcia with the Medal of Merit Award. The scene of a very tense rescue incident occurred in the swift waters of the Valley Canal. Please welcome to the stage Officers Audie Carrig and Frankie Contreras. On April 6, 2010, Officers Carey and Contreras were among a number of officers who responded to the scene of a vehicle that had landed in a canal. The first officers at the scene found that the car had flipped upside down and was partially submerged. Farther down the canal, a woman could be heard screaming for help. They found the woman pushed up against the canal grates in the swift current. She was struggling to keep her head above water. The officers formed a human chain and were able to safely pull her from the water. Only then did they learn that another person was trapped inside the car that, by now, was also being pushed towards the gate by the swift current. Phoenix Fire Department arrived and joined in on the rescue efforts. Time was short. Officer Carey volunteered to go into the deep, swift water and try to break one of the car windows. He made several unsuccessful attempts, but the current constantly knocked him off his balance and began to sweep him away. A team of officers grabbed a rope, attached it to the officer, and then pulled him to safety. Officer Frankie Contreras took over and attached the rope to his waist and jumped into the water, and he too made unsuccessful attempts to break the vehicle's window. A second fire team arrived, and another rope was tied to Contreras as various tools were used to secure the vehicle and the rescuers. After nearly 30 minutes of rescue attempts, the citizen, who was trapped inside the car that was filling with water, was safely rescued. Their actions are most certainly in keeping the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department. We are proud to present Officers Audie Carrig and Frankie Contreras with the Medal of Merit Award. Congratulations to both. Is Lieutenant Russ Fredrickson in the house tonight?
On the night of October 18, 2011, two suspects attacked the victim in a hotel room, stealing his money and his vehicle. The two then drove away in a stolen vehicle and later stopped for gasoline. They pointed guns at a woman and her child who was standing at the gas pumps, demanding their money and taking the woman's ATM card. After the suspects fled in the first victim's car, the second victim quickly called 911. After running through red lights, the suspects lost control of the stolen vehicle and crashed into a wall at the entrance of a food market. Both suspects fled into the parking lot on foot. Responding officers, including Lieutenant Russell Fredrickson, who was able to quickly apprehend one of the two suspects. With that suspect in custody, Fredrickson then drove to an entry-exit point in the parking lot where he confronted and gave commands to the other suspect. Instead of obeying, the suspect pointed a semi-automatic weapon at him, forcing Lieutenant Fredrickson to fire his weapon. The suspect was struck in his legs. Both suspects were booked on a multitude of felony charges. Lieutenant Russell Fredrickson's courageous actions to stop these dangerous felons reflect the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department. We are proud to present him with this Medal of Merit Award.
Please welcome Lieutenant Brian Reagan and Officers Albert Casados, Robert Kimmery, Robert Sandoval, and Michael Zillas to the stage. There are additional officers who participated in this incident who could not be here tonight, but we will ensure that they each receive their Medal of Merit. They include Officers Alla Bartley, Nick Harrison, Peter Kriz, Chad Metcalf, Jeffrey Pulta, and Martin Rincon. Now, before we present these officers with their Medal of Merit, there are other officers who were involved in the same incident and are receiving the Medal of Valor. Will the following people please come forward? Lieutenant Chris Moore, Sergeant Frank Venezuela, Sergeant Tim Art, Officers Travis Aguirre, Timothy Bayardi, Nick Barker, Peter Best, John Bradshaw, Sal Chavez, John Childress, Basom Ghani, Douglas Keller, Andre Ordanza, Dan Quillman, Corey Shibata, and Zach Wright. And finally, Officer Anthony Daly. Please join your colleagues on the stage. Officer Daly is receiving the Police Shield Award for his actions involved in the same highly charged and violent incident. On November 26, 2011, Phoenix officers responded to a mobile home park in Phoenix regarding a trespassing call. Officers Anthony Daly and Travis Aguirre were first to arrive. They discovered that the main door to the vacant trailer had been forced open and the trailer windows had been boarded up. Due to darkness, they were unable to see through the open door and inside the trailer. Officer Aguirre posted to one side of the door, and as Officer Daly stepped inside, he was immediately struck by gunfire. Still, Daly managed to provide a physical description of the suspect and took a perimeter on the north side of the trailer until backup could arrive. He was able to exit the trailer to where other officers helped to get him out of the area. Daly had been shot in the abdomen and his thigh, and he was quickly transported to a local hospital. It was clear that a major incident had unfolded, and this incident was now being overseen by Lieutenant Chris Moore. Lieutenant Brian Riggin formed a team of officers that included Nick Harrison, Peter Chris, Chad Metcalf, and Martin Rincon. They knew that the suspect was armed and somewhere inside the trailer, and he was firing rounds indiscriminately. Officer Aguirre was pinned down and unable to move his position without assistance. Exposed to gunfire, Officer Metcalf cut through the fence of the business to the west of the trailer and cleared up to the fence line between the business and where Officer Aguirre was located. Officer Zilas used rifle coverage to safeguard Officer Aguirre while Metcalf cut through the fence. Officers Pluta and Bartley left their cover positions to help evacuate residents from a nearby trailer. The suspect was soon captured and then taken into custody. For their actions that reflect the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department, we are proud to present these officers with the Medal of Merit, the Medal of Valor, and to Officer Anthony Daly, we are so proud and honored to present you with the Police Shield Award. Once at the hospital, and although he was seriously injured, he was determined to walk to the hospital on his own, where he underwent kidney surgery. Officer Daly was hospitalized for nearly 2 weeks. Once home, he developed an infection and was again hospitalized for several more days. His actions in the line of duty reflect the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department. I want to congratulate each and every one of you. Will Officers Nicholas Patatis and James Sprouse please join us on stage? No one in law enforcement needs to remind us just how dangerous this job can be. This incident speaks directly to that inherent danger. On August 4th, 2011, Officer Nicholas Patatis and James Sprouse attempted to make contact with a suspect who was riding a bicycle. The suspect refused to stop, ditched his bike, and ran into a nearby residence. As the officers got out of their vehicle, the suspect fired several rounds at them. Both officers were hit, with Officer Spross being wounded in the head and Officer Patatis shot in his right arm. Even after being wounded, the officers' concerns were centered on the welfare of the residents inside the house where the suspect had made entry. Spross and Patatis left their cover a number of times to try to prevent the suspect's escape and the chance he could possibly cause harm to other citizens. Even with serious injuries, these two officers demonstrated outstanding team tactics and a will to survive through 3 separate gun battles with the suspect. In light of their outstanding work, their teamwork, their tenacity, their bravery, and heroic acts during and throughout a deadly encounter with a violent suspect, the Phoenix Police Department is proud to present these 2 officers with the Medal of Valor and the Police Shield. Congratulations. Please welcome Motor Officer Justin Wood to the stage. On May 23, 2009, Motor Officer Justin Wood pulled to the road median to provide updated information regarding the vehicle pursuit. As the suspect vehicle approached him, it swerved and hit the rear of his police motorcycle. The impact was so severe it launched Officer Wood more than 60 feet from the point of the crash. He suffered severe blunt force trauma to the back of his head and as a result had cranial bleeding and severe memory loss. But miraculously, Justin was able to return to his motor officer job after several weeks of recovery. In keeping with the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department, we are pleased to present him with the department's Police Shield Award. Congratulations. The final Police Shield presentation tonight will be presented to Officer Vern Hancock. Vern, join us on stage. In police work, many times incidents and injuries are overlooked, and thankfully, this one has come to our attention. In fact, this officer is now just being recognized and by no means diminishes the seriousness of this incident or when it occurred. On September 14, 2003, Officer Vern Hancock was working inside the Phoenix Police DUI van when a suspect attacked him and attempted to take his firearm. A life-or-death struggle ensued inside the van, and Officer Hancock was shot and sustained wounds that required hospitalization. He was not able to return to work for more than 2 months. During his career as a dedicated officer, Officer Hancock was involved in other serious on-duty motor accidents. His actions have always reflected the highest standards and traditions of the Phoenix Police Department. We commend Officer Hancock for his resolve to heal and to return to duty. We are pleased to commend him for his service and present him with the Police Shield Award. Congratulations, Vern.
Very proud of the work he does, and I'm very proud of the award he's winning. It's one of the life-saving awards. He and some of his other squad members saved somebody from committing suicide. So that's very commendable. I'm always proud of him. I'd be proud of him no matter what he did for a living. But law enforcement is a difficult field for anybody. And he worked hard to get his position as an officer. So I'm very proud of him.
I think he works hard in his job, and he deserves this award. He apprehends a lot of perks.
My son moved out here 6 years ago. He actually turned down NYPD just to come out here to be part of the Phoenix Police Department. And we're extremely proud of what he's done in the 6 years, and we're fantastically surprised and just overjoyed with his merit of valor tonight.
The quote you will find in your printed program is very fitting for the Medal of Life-Saving Award. The author, who is unknown, states, and I quote, "There are many noble acts performed by police officers, but saving a human life is one that cannot be surpassed." End quotes. One of the reasons we save this award presentation until the end of tonight's ceremony is to provide you with a visual picture of the incredible number of officers who perform life-saving acts on almost a daily basis. There are 108 honorees listed in this category, and those who could not attend tonight number just about half. In recognition and respect for all of the honorees, we will announce every honoree's name.
Officer Manuel Abeda. Officer Travis Aguirre. Officer Asadullah Ali. Officer Joshua Allen. Officer Jason Altman. Officer Kurt Arnold Usen. Officer Brian Othamant. Officer Andrew Barces. Officer Annette Bartuch. Officer Alex Beaver. Officer Thomas Beck. Officer Brian Benson. Officer Todd Bisaki. Officer Jody Bodway. Officer Peter Boyle. Officer Jared Broderick. Officer Clinton Brookins. Sergeant Ronald Bryant. Officer Steve Butler. Officer Audi Kerrig. Officer Eric Carpenter. Officer Courtney Chatelain. Officer Jesus Shichil. Officer Frankie Contreras. Sergeant Sean Coots. Officer Robert DeVinti. Officer Russ Dahl. Detective Larry Espinoza. Sergeant Mandy Faust. Officer Mike Fernandez. Officer Ryan Farrell. Sergeant Kelly Frizzell. Officer Daniel Fulton. Officer Thomas Gallagher. Officer Ryan Gann. Officer Nicholas Gombar. Officer Nick Gomez. Officer Terry Graber. Officer Alonzo Guzman. Officer Adam Harness. Officer Richard Haynow. Officer Jacob Helms. Officer Mike Hoovey. Officer Benjamin Eipel. Officer William Jump. Officer Patrick Justice. Officer Mike Kaufman. Officer Michael Kiro. Officer David Keys Nunez. Officer Jason Klingensmith. Officer Jeremiah Koshinsky. Officer Matthew Kurth. Officer Richard Lang. Officer Clifford Lewis. Officer Joe Liska. Officer Joshua Lopez. Officer Brad Lorenz. Sergeant Jared Lowe. Officer Robert Lucero. Officer Darren Lund. Officer Nathan Main. Officer Mustafa Masad. Officer Robert Matthews. Officer David McCorkle. Officer Michael Melhouse. Officer Ryan Merrill. Officer Marshall Miller. Officer Nicholas Miller. Officer Timothy Miller. Sergeant David Montoya. Officer Todd Murphy. Officer Frank Milet, Officer Adam Nelson, Officer Dave Nicholson, Officer Mark Overfield, Sergeant Stacy Parks, Officer Randall Patterson, Officer Walter Peeling, Officer Brian Phillips, Officer Randy Pogie, Officer Timothy Reese, Officer Mark Ryan, Sergeant Robert Rodarm, Officer Rudy Romero, Officer Todd Shelbrock, Officer Jay Schultz, Officer Richard Shoemaker, Officer Taylor Siljander, Sergeant Natalie Simonet, Officer Juliana Sabarzo, Officer Jason Stokes, Officer Rex Stewart, Officer Patrick Sullivan, Officer Christopher Sun, Officer Guy Todd, Officer Jason Toth, Officer William Underwood, Officer Don Vallejo, Officer Mark Wardian, Officer Andrew J. Williams, Officer Brian Williams, Officer Wayne Williams, Officer Alberto Wilmont, Officer Scott Womack, Officer Justin Wood, Officer Brandon Wright, Officer Zach Wright, and Sergeant Darren Wonderly.
Each and every day in the life of a Phoenix police officer brings experiences and opportunities that impact citizens and the community. Every officer who was on stage tonight was involved in life-saving and, in many cases, involved endangering their own life to save another. Incidents span from attempted suicides of young people and adults who saw no other way out due to the intervention from many of these officers, but they were given a chance to receive psychological assistance and a renewed chance at life. Travelers through Sky Harbor International Airport who experienced a heart attack lived to see another day due to the quick response by Airport Bureau officers. Officers have heroically saved lives of pedestrians and drivers involved in collisions, including a heroic effort to free a trapped suspect from under an overturned truck during an attempted escape. Many stand in before you tonight without regard to their own lives, rushed into burning buildings to save citizens who were trapped inside and unaware of the danger they were actually in. And many of the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department were part of life-saving efforts involving accidental shootings, seizures and chokings, animal attacks on humans, pediatric drowning calls, and incidents involving the swift waters of valley canals. As we look at all of the officers gathered here on this stage tonight, we must be reminded, we must be thankful, and we must be humbled and proud of who they are and who they represent. They are truly shining examples of what is the nobility of policing. Congratulations to all of the honorees. A special thank you to all of tonight's sponsors. I want to remind everyone that you and your family and friends are invited to join Chief Garcia in the north lobby of the theater for photos. And we would also like to remind you that the Phoenix Police Museum will remain open tonight exclusively for every one of you. The museum recently opened in its new location just across Washington and has an amazing display of history of your police department. And we especially thank you for attending.
It was just so wonderful to see all of the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department getting honored for their brave acts, and it's just such a comfort knowing that there are men and women out there that every day put their lives on the line to make sure that myself and you and all of our families are safe. And to see my friend of 24 years walk across the stage to receive 2 awards was just wonderful. It was such a blessing to be here, and it's just wonderful to be here with so many people that are protecting our freedoms and making sure that we're safe every day.
I thought, wow, I was very impressed. And in this particular building, while I haven't looked at everything, so far, thumbs up.
We're proud of what he's done and going out there every day, and it's a scary thing, and it's good to see and acknowledge police officers out there.
You know what? Every single day they're out there. We send them with a squadron of angels, and we just never know. He's buried 18 plus officers in the few years that he's been here. It's very tragic. We've attended some of the services, and our hearts go out to the families. And yet, every day they are there, being calm and cool and collected, doing a wonderful job and being family friendly, and that link to the community.
It's a way for our department to recognize our heroes, and it's a way for our citizens to recognize what our officers are doing out there. And the combination kind of leaves you speechless. I'm actually searching for words, because the reality is that I'm overwhelmed when I hear the stories of the heroics that these officers have committed. It's outstanding.